Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting of council for the town of Petawawa to order for December 2nd, 2024. Welcome to members of council, staff, and everybody here in our audience this evening. We'll start our meeting off with the reading of the land acknowledgement, and this evening it will be Councillor Roots.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we gather this evening, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of the Petawawa Town Council and our community that we are meeting on traditional territory of the Omami Winiini Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Omami Winiini people and express our respect and our support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. We wish to acknowledge our shared responsibilities in responding to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission 94 calls to action. Calls to action number 34, to call upon the governments of Canada, the provinces, the territories, to undertake reforms to the criminal justice system to better address the needs of offenders with the fetal alcohol spectrum disorder known as FASD. Recent progress. Justice Canada continues to fund the provincial and territory governments and community-based organizations to build capacity and increase support for youth with FASD in the criminal justice system. Justice Canada continues to develop an Indigenous justice strategy to address the systematic discrimination and overrepresentation of Indigenous people in the justice system. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roots. I would now ask all of those in attendance this evening to please stand and join us in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you very much. I need a motion to approve the agenda. Moved by Councillor Roots, moved by Councillor Carmody, second by Councillor Roots, that the agenda for December 2nd, 2024 regular meeting of council be adopted. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest on any of this evening's matters? None. We have a set of minutes from the council meeting of November 18th, 2024 that need approval. So I need a motion to approve those minutes. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sabri, second by Councillor Donovan, that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held November 18th, 2024 be approved as printed and circulated. Any questions or comments on the minutes? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, next we have a couple of presentations, and first up, it's always exciting and an honor for council to honor one of our longtime employees at the town of Petawawa. And this evening, it's somebody who has spent 20 years on their volunteer fire service. So I'd like to introduce Acting Fire Chief Craig Crew to come forward to the microphone and introduce our honoree this evening, who is Simon Brooks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, members of council, distinguished guests, and our recipient, Simon Brooks. It is both a privilege and an honor to stand before you tonight as we celebrate exceptional leader and dedicated employee, Assistant Deputy Fire Chief Simon Brooks. Simon is receiving the Federal Fire Service Exemplary Medal, a prestigious recognition award for those who have demonstrated 20 years of outstanding service in protecting their communities, with at least 10 of those years in roles that require courage, responsibility, and dedication. Simon embodies the values this medal represents: unwavering commitment, professionalism, and steadfast dedication to the safety of others. Simon began his career on October 1st, 2003 as a firefighter, a role that demands not only physical strength, but also a deep sense of service. His dedication and leadership qualities soon became apparent. In March of 2012, he was promoted to acting captain, a position he held with distinction for 6 years. In this role, Simon guided his team with integrity and commitment. Then on March 1st, 2018, Simon took on the role of the Chief of Prevention, where his impact has been felt across the community. Simon's career in the prevention branch began as a secondary duty in 2006, and it is a testament to his work ethic that he managed to excel in his critical area while balancing other responsibilities. As Chief Fire Prevention Officer, Simon has overseen key areas that are fundamental to community safety, education, inspection, and enforcement. He has worked tirelessly and raised awareness about fire hazards, ensuring that the residents and businesses alike understand the importance of fire safety. He has conducted and supervised inspections to ensure compliance with fire safety codes, and he has enforced regulations to keep our community secure. Simon's leadership and expertise has made a significant difference in countless lives, whether educating a group of school children, supporting fellow firefighters, or guiding fire prevention efforts. He has been a steadfast protector for our community. Outside his professional life, Simon is a proud father to Mitchell, Samuel, Victoria, and an equal proud grandfather to Tech Cameron. Together they form a family that reflects Simon's values of love, commitment, and service. Simon, your dedication to our community, your colleagues, and your family is truly inspiring. On behalf of everybody here, thank you for your 20 years of exemplary service. Your efforts have saved lives, prevented tragedy, and made our community safe place to call home. Congratulations, Simons, on this well-deserved recognition. We honor you tonight with celebration.
We're going in the middle.
Yeah.
And just as Simon's walking up, I'd also like to, in addition, I'd like to mention that Simon was a longtime volunteer at Pineview Public School. How many years, Simon?
Oh, I don't know.
That's quite a while.
6, 7 years.
Yeah, so quite a while, and that's awesome volunteer service at a local school.
Yeah.
Which is also great.
Still help out.
I feel like I need a hat.
You do.
Yeah.
Little helmet.
I guess, so this is a certificate from, Mary Simon, our Governor General of Canada, on the 20 years of your loyal and exemplary service to the public safety in Canada. Yeah, can take a picture of the medal. Sure, no, Michael.
Yeah, I'm gonna describe that. Just so everybody knows.
Oh, yeah, so the medal, the red and yellow stripe signifies the fire service, and then on the bottom of the medal is, the candidate's name, so Simon's name is engraved on the bottom of the fire service medal.
You in on that? Or do you want everybody? Okay.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah.
Does anybody else? 20 more years?
Yeah. No. Thank you, Acting Chief Crew, and congratulations again, Simon, on 20 years of exemplary service with the Petawawa Volunteer Fire Service. And here's hoping for 20 more. Yes. Okay, our next presentation is Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee, and it's all about our community service. Survey. Survey. Will one of you be introduced? Okay, the chair of the EDI committee, Lisa Fushi, will be introducing our guest.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So dear members of council, the audience, people online, after reporting about our work on the community survey, I'm really pleased tonight that we will be providing that report publicly, but also providing a summary to you tonight at council. So I'm very lucky tonight to be joined by Joshua Hardy, who is one of our community volunteers on our fantastic committee. So unfortunately, we don't have any of our other committee members tonight, but I want to give them a shout out. Marisa Howe, Becky Conroy, Alan Long, Cheryl, Pat Aird, Elder Pat Aird, the new addition. Marisa Howe, helping us.
You did.
I didn't, Marisa Howe, there we are. And of course, Joshua and Teresa and myself. So this fantastic group, we've been working on this for a while. And then in the interest of providing a streamlined type presentation, Joshua will be taking over from here. So please welcome them and take it away. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for having me. I hope you'll bear with me while I try to follow my notes and do both presentations at the same time. I just really wanted to echo what Lisa said, that we're really appreciative that the council took the time to listen to our presentation on the report and to go through the report, and we're really hopeful about the progress that we can make based on what we found in the survey. So today we're going to be speaking a little bit about how and why we conducted the survey, what the result of the survey was, so the demographics of the area that we found, and then some conclusions that we came to, and also the conclusions from the community. So the first, we're going to talk about how and why. So why would we hold a community survey? So part of the reason that we wanted to hold this survey was to promote the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee. It was sort of one of the first large actions that the community undertook. And so we wanted the community to see that Petawawa had invested their resources and their time into creating such a committee, and that the community had a place where they could reach out if they had ideas or questions about equity, diversity, and inclusion in the community. We wanted to understand the diverse makeup of our community from a number of perspectives, and to at least get a rough estimate as to who is being impacted by town decisions and where the biggest needs might lie. Because we are a committee made of just a few members, there's no way that we can represent all of Petawawa's diversity. And so we didn't want to overstep our boundaries or our limitations by assuming what the community would need. So we wanted to hear back from the community and understand what they wanted to see from us, because we're volunteers and we wanted to make sure that we're doing the best that we can with the time that we have. So how was the survey conducted? We conducted it online from November 3rd to January 30th. And so ran for a total of 88 days. We published posters up in local areas through the Silver Threads group, as well as bulletin boards. Basically anywhere that would let us put up a poster, we put it up. It was on the town's social media a few times as well. In total, we received 379 responses. And of those 379, 265 were complete to a point that we could use them as part of the data set. So those numbers represent about 1.5% of the population, which sounds very small, but is comparable to surveys done by Pembroke and Arnprior. Many of the questions that we came up with were based on questions through Statistics Canada, in the sense that was put out. A lot of our language and the groups that we tried to encapsulate were also part of the federal government's sort of anything that they had to do with equity, diversity, and inclusion. Any of those groups, we tried to include them in our own survey as well, just to sort of base it off of something that we knew was well researched and well thought out. So who is in our community? Before we talk about this, I'd like to just, not that I have to hit both buttons. I know that would happen. I want to just sort of preface it with a little bit of information that we need to be mindful of before we move into the demographics. So as I just said, the results that we have represent about 1.5% of the population of Petawawa. So we need to bear in mind that when we're looking at the results of this survey, we can only really see it as a representation of the people that answered it. And while we can extrapolate based on that data what we might see in the whole population, there could be gaps in that data, or there could be biases based on who would have answered the survey. Because if we're looking at who's going to respond, it's people who saw the poster, have access to the internet, and have the free time to answer the survey. The survey was offered in both English and French, but there could be other language barriers in the community that we didn't know about. or other accessibility barriers, such as people who have low literacy, maybe they couldn't interpret the questions, or again, just people who don't have the capacity, wherever that might be in their lives, to answer the survey. So what that means is that when we're looking at the data that's here, again, we have to make sure that the conclusions that we come to, we don't get too set in stone on anything, because as more community members reach out, or as we hear from other pieces of the community, we might find that, you know, of that 1.5%, there might be outliers in there that we can't fully account for. So the majority of respondents to our survey lived in Petawawa for over 4 years. And half of those responding were between the ages of 25 and 46, with those aged 47 to 70 making up the majority of the rest. Most of the respondents were non-military, but many of them had military family members. All of this kind of falls in line again with what we would expect from the survey. Petawawa obviously has a large military population, but as we'll see in a little bit, not everybody could answer the survey on, you know, from their own side. So again, we might see that there's overrepresentation from certain family members in the survey. So the majority of respondents identified their gender as a woman, and 28% identified as a man, with about 4% identifying their gender identity as non-binary, transgender, two-spirit, or another gender. The national average on these numbers is about 0.33% of the population. The majority of respondents, 76%, identified as Caucasian, with the national average being 69%. Also significant for the number who identified as part of the Indigenous communities or having Indigenous and Caucasian background. 85% of respondents identified as heterosexual, with the national average being 96%. 6% identified as bisexual, with the remaining 9% identifying as gay, lesbian, queer, aromantic, asexual, pansexual, questioning, or other. Again, when we're looking at this data set, someone might say, oh, well, there's a higher than the national average percentage of transgender people in the community, but that's not a conclusion that we can make, again, because people who answered the survey might be incentivized because they're transgenders to answer the survey because they want their voices heard, compared to someone who felt like they didn't need to answer it for the same reason. Approximately 17% of respondents reported that they had an annual household income of less than $60,000. Of the 83% that made over the $60,000 mark, 33% had an average annual household income over $120,000. However, regardless of their income, over half of our respondents said that they had a hard time making ends meet at least some of the time, and 12% of that group having this happen to them often. So one of the questions that we asked is if respondents agreed that Petawawa was an inclusive and welcoming community. And about 60% of our respondents agreed that Petawawa is an inclusive and welcoming community. This is reflected in their comfort level of expressing their identities, as we can see in the next slide. So 70% of our respondents felt comfortable expressing themselves in terms of race, as ethnicity, sexual orientation, and gender identity. And again, this is where it's important to remain mindful of our demographics from earlier. We have to remember that most of these responses are coming from a group, the majority of whom identify as straight, white, cis women. This does not disqualify their experiences or the data, but there could be a potential bias in a response such as this, where someone who identifies as white in a primarily white community is most likely going to feel comfortable expressing their white race in the community. So I think what's more important to look at in this area is to frame it from the perspective that 30%, or nearly a third of respondents from the community, did not feel comfortable expressing their race, cultural, sexual orientation, or gender identity. Do you believe that discrimination is an issue in Petawawa? In the survey, we defined discrimination for respondents as discrimination is the unjust or prejudicial treatment of people based on grounds such as ethnicity, age, sex, gender, disability, language, sexuality, or nationality. So it's interesting again here to note that although the majority of our respondents felt comfortable expressing their own race, cultural, sexual orientation, or gender identity, there is still a majority who feel that discrimination is an issue within the community. I think that this really speaks to the dichotomy that we can see in a small community, where people feel that Petawawa is a welcoming and inclusive space, but a lot of those people could see that there were issues for other folks in the area. So you can feel like your community is welcoming, but still understand that there are barriers to those that you're living alongside. Of those who responded, approximately 38% have been exposed to discrimination in some degree within the town. We received 71 comments describing experiences or witnessing discrimination in various forms, including slurs, ignorant comments, stereotyping, harassment, bullying, dirty looks, refusal to patronize the location, and inaccessibility. We can see that the majority of these discriminatory incidents were race motivated, followed by homophobia and transphobia, and then ableism as the next largest categories, with misogyny, francophobia, and other forms of discrimination making up the final 8%. Based on these accounts, there was a fairly consistent distribution among schools, workplaces, and public areas such as parks, libraries, healthcare offices, sports bids, and churches, with a slightly higher number described in businesses and slightly fewer incidences involving town offices. So I just wanted to highlight some of the responses that we got. There are some in the report as well, I believe, of the same quotes. So I'm not going to read all of them, but I just want everyone to keep in mind that these are people from our community. These are our neighbors, these are our friends, these are our loved ones, these might be people we go to church with, these might be people we see at the grocery store, and they say things like, I was told to go back to the country I came from. I've had a family member assaulted multiple times for being gay while walking home and in a hotel. My Black husband often gets called names or feels unsafe alone. Youth while in high school bullied for being in a queer family in grocery stores with my same-sex partner. My colleague was shunned and ridiculed in the workplace for supporting the rights of individuals to express their gender and sexual identities, regardless of what those identities were. They ended up eating lunch alone every day, as no one would eat or drive with them during work hours. Growing up as a visible minority, I never felt comfortable or included in my elementary or high school. When I was in school, there was never any education surrounding other ethnicities, and I was bullied quite a lot for the color of my skin. My children, whom some are now in high school in Petawawa, still witness the same kind of bullying happening. And when they speak up to tell a teacher or principal, nothing is done. I know someone who said they won't get gas at the Ultramar because it's owned by an immigrant. My daughter hears a lot of racial slurs in school at Valor Elementary and has experienced gender-based violence as well. Many businesses in the area are not being held accountable as being accessible. Many have one step and could easily be made wheelchair friendly. Also, many businesses do not have accessible doors. I think the community should try and make more of an effort at making all buildings in the area accessible to everyone and not just the able-bodied. Those comments are pretty hard and they came with a lot of weight to them, but all of our respondents also came with their own ideas for what Petawawa needed to do next. So we asked respondents if they believe there were sufficient resources or support for the following in Petawawa for newcomers, LGBTQS+, seniors, persons living with disabilities, and low-income families and individuals. Primary concern was regarding lack of resources centered on low-income families and individuals and persons living with disabilities. Approximately 42% of survey takers thought there were sufficient resources in Petawawa for seniors. Between 40 to 50% of respondents thought there were insufficient resources for persons living with disabilities and for those with low income. What we found most surprising in all of this was that there were so many respondents who didn't seem to be aware whether or not there were sufficient resources. You can see in the third column there, unknown. For many of them, it is either the highest or close to the highest. And what that tells us is that there may be an issue in the community with accessing resources if people don't know whether or not there's something here for them. But it also might mean that we need to understand the needs of these communities more so that we can provide these resources. Again, if we don't know what the issues are, how can we provide resources for them? We wanted to look at barriers to equity as well, because these can be very community specific. So most respondents believe that the attitudes and beliefs of people was the main barrier to achieving equity. Racism, homophobia, resistance to change, a lack of education and cultural awareness were also mentioned. Respondents also believe that the lack of affordable housing, food, and transportation, as well as history of poor municipal governance in Petawawa were major barriers to equity within our community. Respondents mentioned a lack of meaningful employment opportunities, lack of accessibility to sustainable housing, public transportation, trails and buildings, public transportation, trails and buildings for those with mobility challenges and lack of affordable options for culturally significant recreational leisure activities. So these are all areas that our community felt were barriers to them feeling like they are equal members of our community. So with all of that bad news, we wanted to try to find some ways that we can move forward. So we wanted to find out, again, what the community felt they wanted the steps the town to take towards equity were. And by a large margin, cultural awareness events was something that was brought up quite a bit. Now, this is something, again, that we would want to bring up to the community to see what groups would like to see their own cultural events represented. After cultural awareness events, we noted a lot of requests for more sustainable housing, including ideas for subsidizing rent, improving short-term rental bylaws, implementing landlord licensing, and options for those experiencing intimate partner violence. The increase in equity, diversity, and inclusion in education, it was noted that they didn't want this just for the community at large, but also for businesses and town staff. Accessibility options, again, a lot of them mentioned access to parks and trails, and as well as having the programs offered to persons with disabilities. Promoting existing resources, as we talked about in the previous section. I think this is an area that a lot of people felt like they didn't know what was out there based on their responses. And I'm going to touch a little bit more on sharing Petawawa's Indigenous history in the next slide. So we asked them a little bit about Petawawa's history in general, and the results of our history questions showed an increasing desire for Petawawa's history to be more widely shared and to be shared in a transparent and inclusive manner, particularly regarding the Indigenous history of the area. There were many suggestions on improving this visibility, including plaques, signs, and events. I think that's something that, again, we can reach out to the community, and there's lots of great ideas out there for how we can reflect Petawawa's history. I think that our next slide will talk a little bit about the survey improvements. So as I talked about, there were some barriers to the survey itself. Online access being kind of the primary barrier that we recognized. We're really hoping moving forward for our next surveys that we could move to either having a paper option or having in-person assistance for folks who might need help completing the survey, whether that would be at the library or if you're in the town offices or somewhere that we could offer people a chance to fill out the survey when they might not be able to. There was also talk of conducting a separate survey to assess poverty in Petawawa specifically. And there's even options for conducting more small-scale sort of snapshot surveys in the future that I think could provide us with really meaningful data on specific groups of people or specific time frames. So thanks again, everybody. And I am told now it's time for questions for me. So I'll answer as best I can, and hopefully Lisa and Teresa can fill in too.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Josh, for all your work on the EDI committee and all the work you put into the survey. And hopefully a lot of good ideas come out of this for the town of Petawawa. Okay, so I'll open it up to members of the council. Councilor Drew.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Joshua, and to the entire EDI committee. Very good work, and these surveys are good for bringing back information, laying the groundwork, so we can move forward, making things better for our residents. So I just want to thank everyone.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? Councilor Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. More of a comment. First off, very confident and presented. Congratulations on that. I'm here 2 years and I still can't talk about Joker. So I did appreciate in the report that was sent out to us all the extra information around resources that were available, and I look forward to see how the committee will be getting that information out to our community. And the recognition of the Indigenous history piece in the local area as well is a very strong point at recognition. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Carney.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Thanks, Joshua, for bringing this forward. Very well done, very well presented, and a lot of great recommendations. I like the way that that's been put together, and there's a lot of things to be done, obviously, in this field. And Well, having been a parent of a child with a disability, I can say that the single biggest barrier that we encountered over the years was just knowing what was available. I mean, we were perfectly capable of accessing the resources once we actually knew what they were. And that's certainly something that I discovered over the years. But anyway, very well done. Thank you for bringing this to council.
Any questions or comments? Okay, on behalf of myself and all of the council, thanks again for bringing this all forward. We like to think that we're a welcoming community, so it's interesting to note that many people did think we are a welcoming community. But you made a good point that the surveys may be skewed in certain directions, and we know we're not perfect, and we know we have a lot of work to do. As a high school teacher of 30 years, I did see over my 30-year career a significant improvement in the way the students were more tolerant, more accepting, more inclusive over those 30 years. And it is much better now than when I began to teach. Is it perfect? By no means. There's still a lot of work to do in the school system as well. One of the comments I find most distressing, I think, is that an individual in our town was refused service at a business. I find that distressing, and it's something that needs fixing for sure. All of the recommendations are great, and I hope to see a lot of things coming forward that will help address all of those concerns and those recommendations. Just for everybody's knowledge, in terms of cultural awareness, we had a Diwali festival last year held in the town of Petawawa with almost 200 attendees. So we are taking strides in terms of different cultural events here in the community. And again, we hope to see more. Sustainable housing, we are taking steps over the last 2 years to, we've had meetings with Habitat for Humanity, county, and we're trying to get some affordable housing going here in the town of Petawawa because we realize that there is a shortfall here in our town and we need to take steps to address that. Indigenous history, we have had our first two Indigenous Truth and Reconciliation Day celebrations here in town. We are planning a healing circle. Beside that, there will be a kiosk that talks about our history of Indigenous peoples here in the town of Petawawa. We made a point this year of inviting over 100 elementary school students to the celebration. So we are taking steps towards making our Indigenous history here in Petawawa more well known. One of the other ones was accessibility as a concern, and we do have an accessibility committee that is taking great strides in our community in addressing all of the shortcomings that we have. So we are taking steps, and we know there is a lot of work left to do. So it's great that you come forward and let us know what we need to do.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm really hopeful that our next community survey in a year or two, that we'll see the changes from the, the action that's being taken now. We'll be able to see that reflected in the community for sure.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Okay, thanks again, Josh, for coming and presenting this survey. Okay. Oh. Polite applause. Okay, next we'll move into bylaws. First up is bylaw 1706/24, being a bylaw to establish a speed zone on the gravel portion of Rance Road in the town of Petawawa. I need a motion for the first and second reading of the bylaw. Moved by Councillor Ruth, seconded by Councillor Carmody. That bylaw 1706/24, being a bylaw to establish a speed zone on the gravel portion of Rance Road in the town of Petawawa, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1706/24, being a bylaw to establish a speed zone on the gravel portion of Rance Road in the town of Petawawa. This constitutes first and second reading of bylaw 1706/24.
I need a motion for a third and final reading of bylaw 1706/24. Moved by Deputy Mayor Saverin, seconded by Councillor Coutu. That bylaw 1706/24 be read a third and final time and passed. Are there any questions, comments on the bylaw? Just for those of you in our audience, in case you've never seen one of these before, All of these bylaws were discussed in previous meetings. That's not why we're not going into a lengthy discussion about all of these. Tonight is just to pass the bylaw. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1706-24, being a bylaw to establish a speed zone on the gravel portion of Ranch Road in the Town of Petawawa. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 1706-24, the second day of December 2024.
Next, we have bylaw 1707/24, being a bylaw to appoint municipal law enforcement officers for the Town of Petawawa. I need a motion for the first and second reading of the bylaw. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Councillor Driscoll. That bylaw 1707/24, being a bylaw to appoint municipal law enforcement officers for the Town of Petawawa, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1707-24, being a bylaw to appoint municipal law enforcement officers for the Town of Petawawa. This constitutes first and second reading of bylaw 1707-24.
I need a motion for third and final reading of bylaw 1707/24. Moved by Councillor Carmody, seconded by Councillor Coutu, that bylaw 1707/24 be read a third and final time and passed. Are there any questions or comments on the bylaw? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1707-24, being a bylaw to appoint municipal law enforcement officers for the Town of Petawawa. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 1707-24, the second day of December 2024.
Next, we have bylaw 1708/24, being a bylaw to adopt amendment number 21 to the official plan of the Town of Petawawa. I need a motion for first and second reading of the bylaw. Moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Councillor Roots, that bylaw 1708/24, being a bylaw to adopt amendment number 21 to the official plan of the Town of Petawawa as amended, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1708-24, being a bylaw to adopt amendment number 21 to the official plan of the Town of Petawawa. This constitutes first and second reading of bylaw 1708-24.
I need a motion for third and final reading of bylaw 1708/24. Moved by Deputy Mayor Savern, seconded by Councillor Donovan, that bylaw 1708/24 be read a third and final time and passed. Are there any questions or comments on the bylaw? So this is the first public meeting we heard this evening with the lot severance next to Pine View Public School. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1708-24, being a bylaw to adopt amendment number 21 to the official plan of the Town of Petawawa. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 1708-24, the second day of December 2024.
Next, we have bylaw 1709/24, being a bylaw to adopt amendment 22 to the official plan of the Town of Petawawa. I need a motion for first and second reading of the bylaw. Moved by Councillor Carmody, seconded by Councillor Driscoll, that bylaw 1709/24, being a bylaw to adopt amendment number 22 to the official plan of the Town of Petawawa, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1709-24, being a bylaw to adopt amendment number 22 to the official plan of the Town of Petawawa. This constitutes first and second reading of bylaw 1709-24.
I need a motion for third and final reading of bylaw 1709/24. Moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Councillor Roots, that bylaw 1709/24 be read a third and final time and passed. Are there any questions or comments on the bylaw? Councillor Coutu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My comment is just that right now we have additional dwelling units coming as of right. Tiny homes will be popping up. We are intensifying, we are densifying. This is coming from the province. This is a directive of more homes. A lot of people will be having new neighbors pop up in their backyard with these garage homes and granny suites, etc. And one of the things that we're facing is an affordability crisis. So the idea of adding 2 new homes to our stockpile in a way that's not going to affect our capacity, our services, to me, it's something that I think we should support, also in mind, Councillor Carmody's comments in terms of the fields, et cetera. So that's my comment on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Savard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I happen to be a resident who lives across the street and I'm in support of this. Part of the challenge is always, we become comfortable in the surroundings that we're in. I've been affected twice by, purchasing property and having berms built and big structures built at the back of my property and things like that. And those are, you know, opportunities for the people in the other, on the other lots. And, they've not turned out to be so, you know, not turned out to be as bad as I thought they would. Cutting down trees could be a right. Anybody could go in and cut their entire yard. I think Todd made a good point that, you know, fences, are available, for folks to ensure their privacy. I would also agree that, I mean, Doran Road is a very busy road. I live there, and I'm always worried about the children crossing the road, but that is not the issue that's in front of us today. We are looking at intensification. 7th Street is still by far my favorite street in the entire town of Petawawa. That's where I wanted to be able to build, but I missed it by that much. So, and it is absolutely beautiful. So I will support it for all of the reasons that Councillor Coutu has also laid out.
Further questions or comments from members of council? I'll just add that as Councillor Coutu pointed out, we are facing a directive from the province of Ontario because we are facing a housing crisis. And it's being felt here, even in the small town of Petawawa. We know that most homes now are out of the reach of a lot of people. And we do not have a large stock of smaller homes in the town of Petawawa. So the directive is that we intensify and add to the stock and provide homes that can be more affordable to some folks. This is just one example. And as Councillor Coutu said, there will be granny suites, additional homes, homes over garages. If you have a fully serviced lot, you can add 2 additional homes to a lot now. If you have a lot that's on no services or only one service, you can add an additional housing unit to that lot. So with all of that in mind, it's something that the town of Petawawa has to be cognizant of, and we have to do what we can to intensify to provide more affordable housing for the residents of the town of Petawawa. Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1709-24, being a bylaw to adopt amendment number 22 to the official plan of the Town of Petawawa. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 1709-24, the second day of December 2024.
There's no correspondence, so next we'll go to minutes. We have minutes from the council and committee meeting of November 25th, 2024. I need a motion to approve those minutes. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Councillor Driscoll, that the minutes of the council and committee meeting held on November 25th, 2024 be accepted by council, and that resolutions from that committee become resolutions of council. Are there any questions or comments on the minutes? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we have minutes from the Petawawa Police Services Board meeting, October 15th, 2024. I need a motion to accept the minutes. Moved by Councillor Carmody, seconded by Deputy Mayor Savard, that the minutes of the Petawawa Police Services Board meeting held on October 15th, 2024 be adopted as information. Councillor Carmody.
Thank you, Mayor Service. So I've reported on most of these matters in the past, but I'll just bring your attention to 8A, which is the speed awareness for the speed monitoring devices that we've installed on Beesendall Road and Laurentian Drive. And certainly they've indicated that there is some speeding that happens on Beesendall Road. And it is also indicated that the speeds on Laurentian seem to have subsided a little bit. So just the presence of that seems to have had an effect. And you'll notice in 8B, the Black Cat speed awareness monitoring is indicating that there is a bit of speeding happening on Black Bay Road as well. So this year, where the Police Services Board is recommending that we install the traffic logic speed awareness monitors on Blackberry Road as well. So I'd be happy to take any questions if anybody have.
So one more happy face I can strive to achieve. Is that what we're saying? I'm like, excellent. Are there any questions or comments on the police service board? And I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we have the minutes from the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee meeting of October 23rd, 2024. I need a motion to accept the minutes. Moved by Councilor Coutu, seconded by Deputy Mayor Safford, that the minutes of the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee meeting held on October 23rd, 2024 be adopted as information. Councilor Coutu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this was a great meeting. We were joined by Major Michael Henderson Neville, and he is the Defense Team Pride Advisory Organization, pardon me, military co-chair. And we're also joined by Christy Jovicker, who is the National Defense Indigenous Advisory Group civilian co-chair. So these are people with lots of other duties that are hard to pin down, but they were able to join us for this meeting, and both of them talked about how much they wanted to work more closely together, with Garrison and the town together, on community initiatives, community projects, celebrations, you name it. So we're going to be pushing forward on a lot of those initiatives so we can put our heads together and do even bigger, better things, get the word out on both sides, so we get a lot more integration and stop reinventing the wheel on either side of that bridge. That was a great meeting, but also in this meeting we talked about our Safe Space program and moving forward with that. You will see on the header of the minutes, and you saw during the presentation, our Safe Space logo. So that is something we're now working towards getting out into the community, and you'll see that many corporations are taking that on. For example, RBC or Shoppers Drug Mart, you'll see them trying to put out that notice that this is somewhere where your human rights will be respected. So we're trying to create something similar in the town and try and encourage that creation of a space where people will not face, like we talked about tonight, discrimination, etc. So also at this meeting, we resolved to move forward on an awareness campaign to take place in May of 2025. And again, we'll be working in collaboration with the Garrison and with our business groups and some of our client services. And specifically, this will be the Moose Hide campaign. So it's a great action campaign. So look forward to hearing more about that as we push forward. And a new opportunity was created when Elder Pat Ayer joined our committee. And this is an individual who has a lot of teaching and training in specifically healing work. So we have identified in this area a real gap for men's mental health programming. So Elder Pat Ayer is going to be working with me and with other members of the committee to try and get off the ground a healing circle. And this will be a space for men specifically to come and to gain that teaching from Elder Pat. And I look forward to bringing more to you as this develops. And I'm happy to take any of your questions. Thank you.
Questions on the minutes of the meeting? Having seen none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we have minutes from the Petawawa Public Library Board meeting of October 28th, 2024. I need a motion to accept those minutes. Moved by Councilor Carmody, seconded by Councilor Coutu, that the minutes of the Petawawa Public Library Board meeting held on October 28th, 2024 be adopted as information. Councilor Carmody.
Thank you for your service. So you'll notice in attendance at this meeting, we actually had a guest, which does not happen very often. And Ms. Stephanie Condon joined us. She was starting work on a board elsewhere and dropped in to see how our board functions. So in this meeting, there were a couple of things of note. We passed a motion to adopt our new strategic plan. So we are rolling on that now. And we also authorized expenditures to kick off a pay equity review, which we've been talking about for a while. So that process is underway as well. And not directly related to the minutes, but I'd just like to report that our painting project is coming along well, and it should be wrapped up before the end of the year. Looks great.
Questions or comments on the library board minutes? I'll have to say I was there today at the library, and there was two new things that really struck me as being fantastic. One was the painting. It looks like a brand new library. It looks bigger. I don't know what it is about the color that they chose, but it's great. And also the new ESL program that's being offered once a week on Mondays, which is great with all the new people we have moving into our community, that they have a resource now in our town. They don't have to leave to get ESL language services. So that's great. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, next we're going to staff reports. First up is ED-15-2024, the Town of Petawawa logo redesign and brand guidelines. Christine, you look very excited.
Thank you. I apologize. I'm losing my voice. I have for the last couple of weeks. Please bear with me. The report today talks about the concept of potentially rebranding the Town of Petawawa logo. We started this in the month of June as part of some modernization, exploration and efforts as directed by council to staff. So as council is aware, the website redevelopment was planned and awarded as part of the 2024 budgeting process. And in communications as part of that particular process, the color palette, the font, the typography, those kind of things are important when you're considering website redevelopment. And so it also behooved us to potentially look at the branding opportunities. As we explored the branding, we realized we have quite a few logos that are in use for the Town of Petawawa. Specifically for the town proper, we have a crest that we use predominantly, and we have the Dynamic by Nature logo. They do not have cohesion to each other and are used intermittently and interchangeably, sometimes in various documents, branding materials. So this is a great opportunity to financially streamline the process and also to create that visual cohesiveness that we're looking for. Verify accessibility in the logo and in the use of the logo. And corporately, we did not have existing brand guidelines for staff to follow. So part of this process will be to define brand guidelines so that staff are aware of the process and the means to use those logos. So part of our initial work was to undertake a survey. It was a very short survey, 7 questions only, just to get to the heart of the matter. And we issued it in the month of June, and we gave people 2 weeks to respond. We had over 4,000 engagements through the social platform or impressions. Ultimately, we did receive 238 responses, 210 of those from residents of Petawawa. So it was a good representation of the local community. We did have Petawawa businesses, some of our partner organizations, and some former residents of our area respond to the survey. It was provided in paper and virtually. The local media picked it up and put it in the local radio and Petawawa Post. We feel very good about the response from the community in relation to it. We specifically asked a question about what people's Petawawa story was, and we received 150 unique responses to that open-ended question, which was very interesting and will be used in future engagements within our community. The survey results obviously felt that the slogan Dynamic by Nature was well representative of our community. There's always going to be somebody who has a better suggestion or a different suggestion. We do have those alternative suggestions captured, but Dynamic by Nature does seem to resound well with the community, and it is a trademark of our community. So it is our slogan to use as we choose. In terms of the top colors, We were surprised that green, was identified more so than the blue. We have thought that blue was going to, prevail, but certainly green comes as a top color. And in the documentation provided, you can see where the other colors ranked. In terms of describing the community, the top 10, comments were nature, community, friendly, military, active, safe, growing, clean, vibrant, and water. We asked, participants to, let us know, and we provided the two logos, if the current logos were a visual representation of our community. And most people said yes, or 50% of the people said yes when referring to the crest, but not to the other logo with the dynamic by nature tagline. We asked about the color palette. There was an opportunity for the color saturation verification, and most people chose an earthy color palette, an earthy color palette as their favorite. Many people did note that they felt the current logo was dated. It came into existence back in 2000. So 24 years into to today. So maybe there is an opportunity to look at a refresh. We also looked at what some of the other communities are doing. Rebranding, updating your visual identity is not uncommon. And so we looked at other opportunities. There's certainly a good balance to be had by taking an image or two and balancing it with the events and the committees and the activities that are happening with the community. And so an example that we found was the town of Arnprior, which has what we call logo variants, where you can clearly see there's some iconic pieces to the logo that remain no matter what variation or what change is made to that logo. So immediately before you turn the page or scroll down, you know exactly what community that logo represents. And so this is something that was interesting to us. And we did present this to the branding committee, which is representative of some staff, various departments, and some members of council. And the direction was to proceed with a request for quotations. So we have gone through that process to get a request for quotations to see about the possibility of investigating a rebranding opportunity. I'll take any questions the council has at this time.
Okay, thanks, Christine, and thanks to you and all of your team for all of your work that you've done on this. And I'll open it up for questions. Councilor Driscoll.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, thank you, Christine. I know you guys have to put quite a bit of work into this. I will start off by saying that I like the way it's at, along with 56% of people. I've had a surprisingly large number of people come to me and don't want our logo change, which I was kind of surprised at that many people are paying attention to it, but obviously they are. The idea of switching the logos to meet each event, I find kind of runs everything into each other. It's not as defined as all of our various different events, such as the Ramble, our Civic Center Days, E-Band. They are all very different, so I don't think that they should all have a similar logo that has minor variations. And our logo is created with heritage. I know it's only been 24 years, but we are a municipality, not a normal business. I guess we are a corporation, but I don't believe in rebranding for the sake of it, just because we've had it for 24 years. I think the majority of people who have responded agree with me on that. So I would like to say, keep it the way it is. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Safford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks to everybody who responded to the survey. I actually like what I see from Arnprior with some of the similarities. It does not mean that you can't make the changes appropriate to your committee, to your event, those kind of things, but you start to build that, I say, that recognition of, oh, wait a minute, that actually belongs here. And I think that continuity is really important. I'm really, I was pleased to see that there's some modernization of colors is recommended. Burgundy is a nice color and I personally look good in it, but I think it's a bit of a tighter color. And obviously the people who responded agreed as well. I think the earthy tones and the color palette, I think those all just sort of blend in with the dynamic by nature. And so I'm interested to see where we go next for sure. Thank you.
Councillor Kerman.
Thank you for your service. This is not exactly my forte, this kind of stuff, but I too like the, what our prior has done. It looked nice to me anyway. And, I like the direction that you're going and I look forward to seeing what, suggestions you're going to, come up with. I do like our gear though.
Councillor Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Christine, I appreciate looking at the different options you've come up with and the examination of colors and what will be used. A large part of that, certainly on our website, is will impact accessibility while they're working or using our website, dependent on the colors and the way the sign or the logos are arranged. So I appreciate the work that you've put into it, and I'm very enthused to see where we end up at the end. Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Councillor Cookie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to mention, I was privileged enough to be a part of the rebranding committee, and I just want to represent the council who weren't there that day. It's been an extraordinary process, having Christine and Ruby bring a lot of ideas to us, and we've had some amazing discussions on this. And I think one of the biggest reasons to go ahead with the rebranding, as we talked about, is that accessibility piece, and then creating that, as you say, that sort of recognition piece. So understanding that this is a corporation and we're trying to create ways of it are to encourage residents and businesses and other people to partner with us, and this might help in that aspect, and also of course help people who have different needs when they're stuff on their website to have that consistent experience. So thank you very much for your work. I'm really excited to keep working with you. Thanks.
Further questions or comments? Okay, I'm a big fan of history and I like change as well, though. But I do love our current logo, and I'm with James. I love the deer, and I love the idea of a historical logo. But in working on the committee and the entire process that we went through, and we saw not just arm priors, but we looked at hundreds of different logos from all kinds of different communities across the country. There are a lot of new modern common themes that are kind of coming out of all these branding changes. But it was an incredible process, and a lot of it did make sense. When you look at all the different logos we do have, it does make it a little bit cleaner when you have one consistent logo and you make subtle changes to it. I would say one thing though, that it's not out of the realm of possibility that we keep part of our historical logo and do a separate rebranding as a bit of a marketing logo. There's so many different combinations and permutations that we can do. But I think the important thing is that we explore all opportunities and see what comes back to us. And then as a council, we can make a decision based on all of that information. So I think moving forward, it's a good idea to get that RFP out and see what comes back to us. And then we can make a more informed decision. So I guess we're not deciding on anything. Okay. So thanks for all that information, Christine, and we're looking forward to what's coming.
Yeah.
Okay, next we'll go to LEG-15-2024, request for proposal number P-24-06, management services at Festival Hall. Colin, your report.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Through you, the council, before you is the joint report, which each municipality made up of the consortium, which consists of the city of Pembroke, Township of Lantern Valley, and us, the town of Petawawa. Yeah, we're seeking council's approval from each respective council for the award of the request for proposal for management services at Festival Hall. I'll just touch on a little bit of the background that was in the report. So as council is aware, with the retirement of Rick Warden of Adventure Entertainment back in September of this year, staff were instructed to begin with a request for proposal, which was launched by the city of Pembroke on October the 10th and closed October the 31st, at which we received 2 applications from 2 proponents. Those proposals were reviewed and evaluated by a panel of 3 staff that consisted of our very own Jody Gerba from the town, who stepped in graciously on my behalf because I was unable to attend that one meeting. So a big shout out to Jody. But those 3 staff reviewed individually and they evaluated the score of each of the applications. They looked at experience and references, understanding the requirements, operational plan, and the cost. And when it came to cost, I just will touch on that the cost was the same for both proponents. But the reason for the award to what staff are suggesting to Kitchissippi is that their proposal definitely stood out in the other 3 categories. So the review and discussion at the Festival Hall Committee, they have suggested that to move forward with the awarding of the contract to Kitchissippi Productions. And the recommendation in my report is that council approves the award of request for proposal number P-24-06 to Kitchissippi Productions, and acknowledges that the city of Pembroke staff entered negotiations on behalf of the town of Petawawa, and that council accepts the attached agreement to allow the consortium to enter into an independent contract with Kitchissippi Productions for the purposes of management of Festival Hall at Equinox. I'd be happy to continue questions if council have any.
Okay, thanks, Colin. I guess, first off, maybe I'd like to turn things over to Councillor Roots. He's the chair of the board at the new, it's called Festival Hall at Equinox now. Just to get his opinion on, from the chair's perspective and the board's perspective on this proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank all the staff who participated in the whole process. I'd like to also thank Rick Wharton and Venture Entertainment for the past 13 years that we made a lot of progress. And it's been nice to see the 2 individuals and their companies come forward with their proposals and the selection process that has worked. We're very excited to work and partner and support the lucky person and his company, the Kitchissippi Production Company. There's some new ideas and some processes that I've been looking at for the last few years. So to have this come forward is good news, and it's a refresh. And like I said, we're really looking forward to taking this partnership to a whole new level. We've done a lot of renovations at the facility over the years. As we know, the seat campaign, sound system, painting, the partnership with the school board has improved. We're really moving this as a real culture, entertainment, educational center for the entire community. And this is the next step as we look now at an operational focus to look at all sorts of different entertainment for all different sorts of people in our area. So that's my perspective, and as we move forward. So thank you for having this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roots. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Kerman.
Thank you for your service, and thanks for bringing this report forward. It's very comprehensive, and certainly if the chair of the board is good with this venture, it certainly rests well with me. I know Dorian Pierce was honored at the Chamber of Commerce Awards this fall for doing a good job with Kitchissippi Productions, and everything seems like it should be a good fit. So I would certainly support this.
Deputy Mayor Sauer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Building on what James said, or just adding to it, yes, certainly that's his field of knowledge and sphere of capacity. So that's really great. I'm just and I'm trying to look for it in here. Can you tell me if how long this contract is? I think I know, but we're talking about annualized incomes, things like that. It's not just 1 year at a time. It's for a period of. If you remind me.
I think it's 5 years, but let me do a quick look.
I have it.
Yeah.
It is a 3-year contract, yes, with the option then to renew for 1-year intervals.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Okay, I've had a few conversations with Councillor Roots about some of the initial ideas that this individual is proposing to bring forward already, and it seems very exciting and very innovative. So I would agree that it looks good moving forward with this proposal. Okay, so I need a motion. Would you like the motion read first? That'll be okay. Okay, I need a motion to accept resolution number 15. Moved by Councillor Roots, seconded by Councillor Driscoll, that the council approves the award of request for proposal number P-24-06 to Kitchissippi Productions and acknowledges that the city of Pembroke staff enter negotiations on the behalf of the town of Petawawa, and the council accepts the attached agreement to allow the consortium to enter into an independent contract with Kitchissippi Productions for the purposes of management of Festival Hall at Equinox. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. And I guess tomorrow, the city of Pembroke and the town of Laurentian Valley will be voting on the same proposal.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Next, we'll go to councilor reports. Deputy Mayor Sadler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to report that on November the 1st, I participated in a preliminary coordination meeting for our new Community Advisory Committee. And then on the 8th, we held an informal meeting to just say hello to each other and just cover a few points in terms of meeting and greeting and shared visions and things like that. So that was a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to working with this group. On the 20th, I attended a food services board meeting. Police Services Detachment Board meeting. On the 27th, I participated in an Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Committee meeting. And on the 30th, I attended this past weekend the town's Christmas party. And it was really quite nice to see all the attendance, but also so many new faces and so many fresh faces. And, it's definitely dynamic group of individuals we have working here. So that's excellent. And while I've got the floor, I would also like to hold up, I'm sure people can see this at home, and talk about the Christmas Angels luncheon, which is a luncheon that's held on the 25th of December, where we provide to anybody in the town of Petawawa who would not have a turkey dinner on Christmas Day and would like a turkey dinner on Christmas Day. We provide one. It's either through deliveries, which you can register at the Civic Center, starting on the 16th of December. And if you want a delivery as well as a takeout, and we're also offering dining in options, or the dining in option, I'm sorry. So if you want to come out and enjoy Christmas with a number of people and experience a delicious meal, it's free of charge. And we also have a taxi service. So if folks are interested in coming out and don't have transportation, we can get you home safely. So thank you very much, Smith.
Thank you, Councilor Kerner.
Thank you, Mayor Service. On Wednesday, November 20th, I chaired a police detachment board meeting. And on Monday, November 25th, I chaired a library board meeting. And I too attended the town's Christmas party this past Saturday. Very nice event. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Tutu.
Mr. Mayor, on November 25th, I attended the library board meeting. On November 27th, I chaired an Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee meeting. And then November 30th, I attended a meeting party. And a sincere thank you to everyone who went ahead and organized it, and the rest of us just able to attend. That was really amazing. So thanks, and good job, staff, on an amazing year. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Driscoll.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, on November 21st, I attended an airport meeting. We're starting to talk about wrapping up the year, end of the year. It's been a very successful year for the airport so far. And we're also looking to have our marketing manager come and do a presentation before council, give everybody kind of some updates and opportunities of what's going on. She's actually been very active around, shopping us around to get some more information, which is good. November 30th, I attended the 4CDSG Kids Christmas Party at the Southside Canex. It was a very good run event. Lots of activities for kids. My kids are more excited to cook the table than Santa. And so we'll work on that for next year. Then I also attended the staff Christmas party. Really, really good. Big shout out to the social committee and especially Kate Bennett for all their hard work, putting everything together. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dunn.
Thank you. On the 19th of November, participated in some CNL webinars that they were offering around the disposal of nuclear waste. That was followed by an actual decision by the Nuclear Waste Management Organization, which began in 2010 to find a location that would be suitable for that waste management. And they have chosen the township of Ignat, which is in Ontario, and is part of the Wabigoon Lake Ojibwe Nation. Sounds exciting. 20th of November, the Accessibility Committee did an audit of the Civic Center and its exterior. On the 27th of November, we had a PAC meeting at which time we did ratify the information from the audit and made our plans for be sent out, which will be this Saturday. On the 30th of November, I too was at the staff party, and many thanks to everybody who organized it. It was nice to attend. The food was great, the music was good. So thanks to everybody on that side.
Thank you, Councillor Roos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. November 22nd, I attended and chaired a Festival Hall committee meeting. The main purpose for this meeting was to review the management services for Festival Hall and the awarding of the RFP discussion. Thursday, November 28th, I attended an Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery Board meeting, and this was for the budget workshop for the new year ahead, 2025. This budget is a little different as it is more of a forecast and evaluation. We now have a different model for our business with a contract service structure. So it'll be a bit of a wait and see as where everything falls into place for the year ahead. I did send out an information memo in regards to the new business plan, what it looks like at waste recovery. November 30th, I also attended the Christmas party celebration, and what a great way to kick off that Christmas season and the outdoor lights, and can't wait for the parade on Saturday. I'm all excited, so thank you.
Thank you. And the CEO is going to be pleased this evening. I have a short report. So on the 19th, I attended the Garrison County Day with a lot of the other mayors from around the county. And we also hosted 2 Queen's medical students as part of our doctor recruitment push. We're trying to include all of these visiting doctors in as many activities as we can to make them like our area more. On the 26th and 27th, we welcomed the Syrian refugee family to Petawawa. They are now here and in their home and our newest residents of the town of Petawawa, and they absolutely love it. 27th was County Council, and I'll talk about that in a second. On the 29th, I was at the Deep River District Hospital for another doctor recruitment meeting, and I attended as well the staff party on the 30th. And as Councillor Driscoll said, big shout out to the social committee and Kate Bennett for all of their work. It was an incredible evening. Just a quick summary of the county meetings. As I said, I think I reported on this before, but they ratified the new procedural bylaw. So there'll be meetings now on the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays, and it'll be committees as a whole. They changed a couple of the committees. There's now a joint services committee that includes health, community services, and housing. D&P stays the same, operations stays the same, and finance is now called corporate services. So everybody will be at both of these meetings, all 17 councillors. So it's a committee of the whole, so everybody will have input at the initial stage of all of the meetings, which is good. The county introduced their road rationalization plan, talking about several ways of bypassing Pembroke. Some off Drive-In Road, extension of Boundary Road, and various ways to improve the traffic flow around the city of Pembroke through Laurentian Valley. Also talked a bit about potential downloading of certain municipal roads in various municipalities, including the town of Petawawa, and also about adding county roads as connecting links, which opens up new grant funding. And they talked about Murphy Road and Paquette Road here in Petawawa as making an application to have them be connecting links, which would open up more grant funding. The Algonquin Trail has officially been included in the Trans-Canada Trail Network, which is big news for not only the county of Renfrew, but all the way to Smith Falls, all the way to Mattawa. that entire piece of the trail now is part of that network, which opens it up to more promotions and also more accessibility to certain grants as part of the Trans-Canada Trail Network. The climate action plan was presented along with all of the recommendations, and the county is going to form a new climate ad hoc committee to deal with all the recommendations on how all that's going to roll out. Keys Public School was the purchase of that was finally finalized between the county and the town of Deep River and the Renfrew County District School Board. The plans for that school will be to either demolish it and build some affordable housing or sell it to a developer and have them develop some affordable housing. Big news in terms of climate, I guess, 6 EV stations, plug-in stations will be put in at the county building and 6 EV plug-in stations at Renfrew County Place, the county building in the town of Renfrew. And honestly, the new Mesa Warming Center it should be open today. They opened it in the Ontario Addiction Treatment Center, which was the former LCBO on John Street in Pembroke, with $100,000 from homelessness prevention plan money from the county, $110,000 from the city of Pembroke, $20,000 from the town of Petawawa, and $20,000 from Laurentian Valley. So that facility should be open today. It'll be open 24 hours a day for the next 5 months and staffed 24 hours a day. So it's great to see that a certain segment of society that will make use of that, it is now available all the time instead of just from 8 till 10. And that's my report. There's no closed meeting. I need a motion for confirming bylaw. Moved by Councillor Coutu, second by Councillor Donovan, that bylaw 1710/24 be read a first, second, and third time and passed. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. And I guess just, oh, sorry.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1710/24, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on December the 2nd, 2024. This constitutes first, second, and third reading to order bylaw 1710/24, the second day of December 2024.
I was on a roll call. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this Saturday, December 7th at 7 p.m. The Town of Petawawa Santa Claus Parade will leave the plaza and travel the 3 and some kilometer route to the Civic Center. And at that point, we'll have our official tree lighting ceremony. At the same time, our Christmas market is taking place at the Container Mid Market. And of course, our Trail of Lights is already lit up and it is spectacular. I've been here a couple of times already and it's fantastic. So that's to look forward to this weekend. I need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, seconded by Councillor Carmody, that the meeting adjourned to the call of the mayor. Call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.